And welcome on back. It's the Coin Flip Podcast. Jacob Zimmerman, Martin Kelly. Today, we are going to dive into our Week 1 NFL predictions. We are excited to do this. We've done this in years past. We're going to try to keep a tally on all these games throughout the season to see who is better at predicting NFL games, me or Martin. Martin, what's going on? What are your thoughts on Week 1?
You know what? We talked about this off air just a couple of seconds ago. This is a horrible week, first one. I mean, seriously, there are some really bad matchups and some ugly games that are going to be played this first week of the NFL. So let's see what we can get right and what we can possibly get wrong.
Martin, I've got the list in front of me, and I've also got a little timer today. We're going to have some fun with the timer. We are going to go 3 minutes per matchup. Some may be a little bit shorter. Some we might even go over the timer just a bit, but we're going to have some fun doing this one. We're going to go in order based off of what you are seeing right now on my screen. We're starting off with the Thursday night game, of course, coming in just a couple of days. Martin, Kansas City is favored to win this one by about a touchdown. Chiefs at home against the Lions. Martino, what are your thoughts?
This is going to be a blowout. The Chiefs are going to win 45-22. First day of the NFL. They'll raise the banner for the championship, and then they'll slaughter the Lions, have them for dinner, and the Chiefs will be happy.
Wow, Martin. Quick, concise take there on the Chiefs getting an open season win against the Detroit Lions, but Martin, I have a suspicion about something else could happen. You know, when you have a team that's brewing on a dynasty like the Kansas City Chiefs, we see this across other sports as well. It's hard for them to take the regular season seriously, especially when it's early in the season. Martin and the Lions, they're a hungry squad led by Dan Campbell. Jared Goff is out to prove that he's a legit top 10 quarterback in the NFL. A victory against the Chiefs in Arrowhead would probably do it for a lot of people's rankings. And Martin, if the run game is what it was last year, even without Jamal Williams this year, Martin, I think the Lions might pull off the upset. I think they'll cover the spread. And if we're picking outright winners, Martin, I'm going to go with the shocker of the day. I'm taking the Lions against the Chiefs to get everybody hyped for NFL season again.
Okay.
Any more comments on the Chiefs?
I told you what I thought about the Chiefs, man. The Chiefs are just a better team in this matchup. I don't mean, listen, we could talk about the offenses, and the offenses are pretty good matched up, but that defense will not keep up with the Chiefs. That's period end of story. That Lions defense will get eaten up. Like I said, the Chiefs are going to slaughter Lions during this entire game. They're going to eat them during the entire game. They're going to be happy campers raising that Super Bowl banner.
Martin, we are officially now underway. I'm using the timer this time around. There we go. Titans at the Saints. Martino, if I can remember correctly, the Saints are a slight traditional 3-point favorite, as you know, these betting lines give 3 points to the home team. So this is about an even split. Probably one of those week 1 games that you're not going to be watching, Martin, unless if there's some crazy highlight going on there. But this smells like a couple things to me. Smells like Derrick Henry is going to get a lot of attempts, and the Saints are going to try to take that away. I see them stacking the box. I think, Mike Vrabel might have to abandon the run game in the second half, and when you have Derrick Henry and you're the Tennessee Titans, you want to get ahead. It's not what you want to do. I don't think they have the quarterback play to play from behind. There's going to be a lot of questions at quarterback throughout the season for the Titans. Could it be early that we see a Will Levis, someone off a Malik Willis come in, or will Tannehill be the starter all season long? Nevertheless, the Saints, I think they just have the better quarterback in this matchup with Derek Carr, even though I'm not as high on him as I was in years past. The Saints, they're a pretty solid team all in all. I think they get it done narrowly.
I agree with you on your first take about this game. This is a very even matched game. I think this is probably the closest coin flip game of the week. You got a couple other games down the stretch, but my point is, I'm going to take the Saints too. I just don't think DeAndre Hopkins, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, are enough. I believe in Vrabel's defense, but that's not enough either. If the Saints offense doesn't turn the ball over, they win this game.
The Buccaneers and the Vikings are next, as I will reset our timer here and start it again for 3 minutes. But we are moving through this one fast. Vikings 6-point favorite at home against a team with really bad quarterback play. Baker Mayfield is going to get to start week 1, but I think Kirk Cousins, with that good boy joy he brings to the table, I think they're going to get it done. I think, Madison probably is going to fill in the running back spot decently. I don't know if Dalvin Cook leaving creates a huge hole in the offense. I think the bigger question mark is going to be around Addison, the new rookie wide receiver. Can he take some of the coverage off of Jefferson in this game? And does he even need to? I think the Vikings will stomp the Buccaneers. Their defense will probably look even better than we think it will in this one as well. Vikings the win and the spread.
Well, I'm going to say the Vikings win this one. I don't think the Vikings defense is going to look good after this game. They are still below average. The plain and simple, they're just still a bad defense. Tampa Bay's defense won't keep up as much as I love those guys. Much of those guys don't deserve. This is the way to end the dynasty with Tom Brady and whatnot. I think Tampa Bay's secondary is good enough to hang, but I believe the Vikings will win this one. And if I had to say like some crazy stat wondering whatever, I think this game will match up with some of the most attempts thrown because neither one of these teams has a good running game. And it will show this weekend when neither team can move the ball, even more than 1 or 2 yards. I think these guys, Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, will probably throw for about 50, 60 times this week.
The Commanders are going to be a touchdown favorite at home against the Cardinals. Martin, we probably won't even dip into the timer too much on this one. This is going to be the only time the Commanders are favored more than 3 points this season at all. Book it. The Cardinals, as much as I want to say that they could maybe pull this one off, this would be one of their few games circled on the schedule that are somewhat winnable for this atrocious franchise at the moment. Sorry. But, for the Birds in red and yellow, there's a shot. But there's not a good enough shot. I think Terry McLaurin, if you can even have him out there as a decoy, because he's a little banged up at the moment, I think there's going to be plenty of other stuff open in the offense against this Cardinals defense. We're in for a absolute dogfight, a low-scoring affair. I think the Commanders get it done at home.
All I need to say about this game is Joshua Dobbs versus Sam Howell at quarterback. That's plain and simple. That's all I need to say about this game. I feel bad for Ron Rivera. This isn't what he deserves to be the kind of the swan song at the end of his coaching career. The Commanders win.
For what it's worth, Martin, Josh Dobbs has a pretty sick college highlight tape back from Tennessee, but I don't know if he's going to be able to scramble, on the commies like he was in the SEC. Moving on now to the Steelers and the 49ers. 49ers being a slight favorite over the Steelers on the road. A 1 o'clock game, early game, a Fox game. Martin, I think the Steelers are going to surprise some people here. I think Brock Purdy is having to come back quite fast. I don't know how many, live reps he's actually got against a great 49ers defense in practice by this point. The drama around Trey Lance. Can that cloud leave this franchise? I'm afraid that terrible trade is going to be in the news for years and years to come, but they can put that away. If they win the Super Bowl this year, if they take home the championship, it starts at the Steelers, but I don't think they're going to get it done. I think, it's going to be tough for CMC to move that ball against a healthy Steelers front. Minka Fitzpatrick's back there. TJ Watt on that front line. Could be a lot of sacks for an inexperienced still quarterback in Brock Purdy. San Fran has all the talent in the world. This one could come down to the run, the yak yards, the run after the catch from Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Kittle, you're going to have a healthy Kittle out there, but I think the Steelers, with their Acrisure home field advantage, no longer Heinz Field, I think they get it done, Martin, somehow, some way.
This is going to be a fun matchup. I think they faced off against each other a couple of years ago. I think that was in Pittsburgh as well. The Steelers have a set of offensive weapons: Johnson, Pickens, Najee Harris. I apologize. Obviously Pickett. Decent offensive line. Obviously, they have Hayward, Watt, Fitzpatrick on the defensive side of the ball. But run CMC, run CMC, run CMC, Debo Samuel, Ayuk, Kittle, Brock Purdy, the better offensive line, the better defense. The Niners win this one.
Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals, going to be facing off against the Cleveland Browns. Now, Martin, it's kind of rare to see the away team be the favorite in a divisional game, especially when there are some health concerns about the starting quarterback for the favorite team in Joe Burrow. Looks like he's going to get the nod. Nevertheless, you got some talented playmakers out there. Everybody knows what Jamar Chase can do out there, and he's got plenty of other talent around him to get this win. But I'm not feeling confident because I feel like the Bengals are also perhaps going to have a slower start to the season. And I think the Browns may have had enough experience late last season to feel more established with Deshaun Watson as their starting quarterback. But this pick really comes down to the man who's going to be running in between the tackles, Nick Chubb. I think this guy is as solid as a running back as we have in the National Football League. A guy who you don't hear about this guy in the media, but you look up at the end of the season and he's leading the league in yards. Nick Chubb's going to get it done against the Bengals. I'm taking the Browns to win a close one at home to kind of stun the Bengals and maybe get Deshaun Watson a little bit of hype early before perhaps it all comes crashing down.
I wanted to pick the Browns, but considering you picked the Browns, I'm not going to pick the Browns just because I want to keep it, in some opposite directions or not totally go into favoritism and make these picks this quick. As much as I want to take Cleveland and the running game, I just don't know if Cleveland's secondary can keep up with that high power offense, man. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, it's just, I think it's too much for them. I'm taking the Bengals on the road.
3.5-point favorites. The Falcons are in the ATL against my Carolina Panthers. Martin, it doesn't take an expert to know that I'm going with the black and blue on this one. Carolina is going to get it in on the road against the Falcons. Martin, Bryce Young's last game in that stadium, he went nuclear in the SEC championship game against Georgia, and I could be proven wrong this year, Martin, but I think going against Georgia and the Alabama defense in practice is the best test for a player who's going to be going into the NFL a couple months later. He gets that test Sunday in ATL. I think the Panthers defense is going to be a little bit too good for a team that doesn't have good quarterback play either at the moment, and I think if Bryce Young finds a way to outplay, it's Desmond Ridder going out there for crying out loud. I think he's going to get it done. Bijan might have a couple spectacular plays, but Brian Burns is going to get a couple back too. I think the Panthers are going to win a close one on the road, and we're really hoping that we don't have some extra point field goals missed in this one.
You know exactly where I'm going with this one. I already know where you're going with the game that has to do with my team anyway. So what is the surprise here? All right, ATL Falcons. I'm not going against one of my friends here in Salt Lake City, Bryce, who's a big Falcons fan as well. The Falcons defense, if they can hold up on the front seven perspective, they can tear up that Carolina Panthers offensive line. They did it to Tampa. They almost had 4 sacks on Brady in 1 week if it wasn't for some roughing the passer calls. Point is, Atlanta has better offensive weapons, and I believe in the Falcons here. Falcons win.
So the Baltimore Ravens open up as the biggest Week 1 favorite, and I think it's justified. 10 points at home against the Texans, who were battling out for the number 1 overall pick last year. C.J. Stroud, he could really develop into something. He could be the Ohio State quarterback who takes the league by notice with his arm. But I don't know if you can't bet on these rookie quarterbacks to win Week 1. It's just not going to happen. Lamar could go out there and stink it up, throw a couple picks, and they're still going to find a way to win. I think Zay Flowers probably goes for a touchdown in his NFL debut. Uh, they're going to run wild regardless. We always know Baltimore brings the run game. You can pencil them in for 100 yards. There's no way the Texans are stopping them from that number either. I'm going Ravens.
I'm going Ravens as well. As much as I want to take the Texans, I love their offense. I love the direction they're going with the offense. I think the defense needs some more work. Front seven wise, they won't get any pressure, so Lamar Jackson may have all the running lanes he wants this week. I'm taking the Ravens.
Moving on to the Jaguars and the Colts as I reset the timer, which we haven't even really came that close to, Martin. We are speeding through this one. We came prepared. Jacksonville, 5-point favorites on the road, another 1 o'clock game. I'm really high on Trevor Lawrence coming into the season. I'm in the clouds, Wiz Khalifa style, if we're talking about expectations. I drafted him in fantasy. I'm taking him to win, especially week 1 at the Colts, at our boy James's house in Indianapolis. They're getting it done. Blowout style, huge win. Anthony Richardson is going to bless our Instagram feeds with some spectacular highlights this year at some point. Cam Newton style. But everywhere in between those highlights, there's going to be a lot of lowlights, a lot of duds. Anthony Richardson's probably going to throw 3 picks against Jacksonville, and they're going to stomp them on the road.
You know, as much as I took Jackson to win this division, I'm not taking Jacksonville to win this first game. They're going to lose this. INDCOLTS. That's Indian Colts right there for you. I think the fact is the Jaguars defense is still not as good as people are talking about it. Their secondary still has a bunch of questions. Their linebacker position still has a bunch of questions. They are not the best pass rushing team either. As much as I love their offense, I'm taking the Colts on the upset here. I think the Colts have a better defense. I think the Colts, at least with Jonathan Taylor, who's not holding out, who's going to be at the game. Jonathan Taylor is so much better than that Jaguars defense. Book me in for the Colts.
Martin, Jonathan Taylor will be not playing in this game. He is on the PUP list.
Regardless,
the Packers and the Bears. Martin, you have some expectations here for this game, according to what I'm going to predict. The Bears are a 1-point favorite at home, and typically that means that Vegas thinks the other team is slightly better. They're just playing on the road. Martin, I am no way in any universe going to pick Jordan Love week 1 when he is still as inexperienced and wet behind the ears, as they say, as he is when it comes to NFL standards. I'm not going to pick the Packers to win week 1. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not high on either of these teams, but I'm going to take the team that just got an upgrade at wide receiver with DJ Moore. He's going to catch a pass, probably behind the line of scrimmage, and run it 90 yards for a touchdown. It happened in the preseason. It could happen week 1. The Packers, have some credible players here and there on defense. They got Christian Watson out the outside. But Martin, I'm not taking the Packers week 1. I won't do it. And so, by default, yes, your Bears win.
Well, as I hear the ringing ding 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 in your headphones back there,
I messed up the timer. Sorry. We have all the time in the world.
You're all right, but I'm giving you a little fun there. Obviously I'm taking the Bears. I'm taking the Bears. The Chicago Bears. I mean, it's arguably they're the best team in this division. I don't care what anybody says about the Packers. I mean, the Vikings or the Lions, they're still them. So I'm taking the Bears on this one, a 1-point favorite. They're just trying to dog the Bears and talk about their defense and whatnot. They can talk about all that they want. I really don't care what people think about my offense or defense. Justin Fields is better than Jordan Love. The Bears are a better team than the Green Bay Packers. Cheeseheads can go survive in Green Bay, Wisconsin all they want. I'm in comfortable Salt Lake City, Utah, so I'm okay. The Bears, let's go.
Certainly a Chicago native ready for week 1. And I'm sure a lot of the folks up there in the New England area are ready as well. Martin, a 4:25 game, an afternoon contest, late afternoon contest. Perhaps the most watched game of week 1 other than the Thursday night contest. Martin, the Eagles at Belichick at the Pats, the Patriots. Now, Bill Belichick has heard all offseason the noise about, can this guy still get it done in 2023? Is he the coach of the future for New England? How old is this guy up in the head? Was it all Tom? He's heard all of this, and he has a chance to go out there and set his guys up where he wants them to be in the secondary, in the front line. He's going to make things tough on Jalen Hurts. Now, I don't know if I can go as far to say the Patriots are going to get it done, especially when Mac Jones is your quarterback and you have done nothing to prioritize or make the most out of your salary cap dollar for dollar when it comes to talent outside of the offensive line on the offensive side of the football. It's not enough to beat the Eagles, but I think it'll be close and low scoring.
I am going to pick the Patriots. And I'm going to pick the Patriots simply because I think the Chiefs actually found a little rinkety dink crack in that shield that the Eagles carried with them last year. And I think the fact is, if you make Philadelphia run up and down the field trying to score as many points as they can to keep up, they're going to slip over their own feet. Consider how many times they ran for it on third or fourth downs with Jalen Hurts at quarterback instead of trusting their own running backs. I have a feeling that there's something up here. As much as I love their offense, I'm taking the Patriots on week one. The Patriots have been known to be good on week one. They've had a decent record when it comes to that. The conversation about Brady and Belichick, it doesn't matter who was the real leader of that group. They're both attached at the hip. They both have the rings. They both have the Super Bowl trophies. There's no taking one away from the other because without each other, they wouldn't have done it. I don't care what anybody says about that Tampa championship either. I'm taking the Patriots on this one.
Now, Martin, we know that the Los Angeles Rams look atrocious when Cooper Kupp is injured, and so is Matthew Stafford. But both of them are going to be playing week one, it looks like. I think the Seahawks have a really good shot to surprise some people in the NFC, especially when it comes to late in the season, potential postseason run. If Geno Smith replicates his season, he could. I don't know if he will. However, I don't think the Seahawks are going to win this week one matchup. I think Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, if they are all healthy, I'm not going to bet against them. I'm going to wait until they get banged up later in the season to start fading him. But when they're healthy, I'm going to take the Rams, even though the Seahawks are a very well-rounded, dangerous squad. This one could come back to bite me, but I'm taking LA on the road.
You know, as much as I want to give LA credit, and as much as I want to hype up your boy Puka Nakua, who possibly can get some snaps in this game, considering how bad the Los Angeles Rams wide receiver group is, and I hope he gets on the field, and I hope he catches some balls, and I hope he catches a touchdown because that'd be really freaking cool to see that. So I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks, plain and simple. I'm even going to go for more of a thing here. We're going to do this every week, and we're going to do this right now here. I'm going to tell you who my MVP of this week is, and that's Geno Smith. Geno Smith will not only throw for more than 300 yards, Geno Smith's not only going to throw for more than 3 touchdowns, he's going to have receivers near or over 100 yards. DK Metcalf, Jason Smith-Njigba, and Tyler Lockett are all going to have more than 100 yards. They're going to destroy that Los Angeles Rams secondary. That linebacker crew is going to look so bad that burnt toast is going to be better in coverage than those linebackers for the Los Angeles Rams. Geno Smith is your MVP of the week. Book it, clock it in, Seahawks win.
I'm with you on the great receiver talent. I don't know if Jackson Smith-Njigba will be a go for week one, but they don't even need him for week one as far as wide receiver talent goes. Martin, on to the Chargers and the Dolphins. This one might be the hardest one to pick in my eyes in week one. When it comes down to, these are two teams that are basically borderline playoff teams. Basically, when you're thinking about March Madness, every year March Madness comes around and you're watching ESPN or whatnot, you know it's the first 4 in and the first 4 out, the bubble teams. The Dolphins and the Chargers, both in their heads, have it that they are that team to get in, to squeak in. Neither one of them is going to do it. I mean, sorry. Both of them probably won't do it. One of them probably will. Every win matters in this season for the Dolphins and the Chargers. This early season matchup, this week 1 matchup, could be huge when you're looking at it late in the season for playoff positioning. I don't trust the Chargers. I don't trust the Chargers at home. I like a guy like Tyreek Hill. I like a guy like Jalen Waddle to really crank up the gas, to really fly down the field. The Chargers have some talent there on defense. I don't know if it'll be enough. Tua is coming for throats this year. I got the Dolphins, perhaps getting, upset. Chargers are favored on the road. I'm going the Fins, baby.
You know what? This is probably, just by looking at the matchup, by looking at everything, this is probably the most closest matchup, I think, of the entire week. And I think this comes down to which terrible offensive line will not be so terrible in this game. The Chargers offensive line is not that good. The Dolphins offensive line is not that good. Neither running games are stellar. All the wide receivers are freak athletes, but they have to get open to be the freak athletes they are. Their defenses are suspect. They have, some spots on their defenses that you can question about, but they do have solid players on both sides of the ball. Do I trust Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa? And I trust Herbert over this one because Tua will somehow, some way have a feather fall on his head and he'll cry for a concussion because that man cannot stay healthy whatsoever. I'm taking the Chargers in this one. I think Herbert won't throw the interception that closes this game out. I think Tua will either fumble the ball or throw an interception.
A complete toss-up according to the Vegas lines. -3 Chargers at home, given that it's pretty much just an even split. About the same thing with the Broncos at home against the Raiders, 3.5-point favorite. Martin, this is going to be a tough call. I don't like either one of these teams. I don't think I'll pick either one of these teams all year long to win a ton of games, Martino. But we're talking about a coach who's coming back to the NFL after some time off. Hasn't been several years, it's been a few, been 1 or 2. Josh Jacobs, for what it's worth, in this moment, is signed for the Raiders. He's going to play. Devontae Adams, in this moment, he should be out there. I don't see why not. Darren Waller's not in Vegas anymore. Jimmy Garoppolo. What I know about Jimmy Garoppolo is that he's not a very talented quarterback, but he's not a guy who's going to throw you out of a game consistently. And I feel like this is that kind of game where Russell Wilson, looks like Sean Payton's going to try to change things up with Russ again. I don't know. The Broncos have too much drama going around the locker room, around the media airwaves that doesn't have to do with winning football games. You can make the argument that they lost a lot of close ones, a lot of low-scoring ones last year. I still don't know. I'm going to take the Raiders. A safe underdog of the week is the Raiders on the road, +3.5. Let's go, LV.
Again, I question and ponder this game, not to keep up a certain tone with my responses in these games. The question I come down to is not about quarterbacks, not about offense, not about defense. It's about coaches. Josh McDaniels or Sean Payton. Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator, Super Bowl winning head coach. A coach that was with Bill Belichick, another coach that was with Bill Parcells. And so there's a lot of relationships between all those coaching trees. I'm taking Sean Payton. His defense will not mess up. I think he's going to get this offense in order enough that they won't shoot themselves in the foot. I think this is a low-scoring game. I think the Broncos walk out with about either a 3 or 4 point win.
Speaking of a 3 or 4 point win, that's what Vegas is thinking. With the Cowboys at the Giants as we round out the Sunday slate. One more still to cover with the Bills and the Jets here. But Martino, The Cowboys at the G-Men. This is an interesting matchup. This is going to be a great one-on-one matchup. Now, every now and then, especially in the NBA, you have a great point guard on point guard matchup. Power forward on power forward matchup. In the NFL, that's wide receiver versus corner. That might be head coach versus head coach. That could even be quarterback versus secondary. Martin, this is running back versus linebacker. This is Saquon Barkley, Micah Parsons matching up 1-on-1. I'm excited for this. I'm ecstatic for this. Dak Prescott is an above-average quarterback slightly. Daniel Jones is probably about as average or mid as you can be. Given that the quarterbacks, you can almost cross them out. This one might come down to which skill player I just mentioned shows out. If Saquon Barkley kind of shakes off the rest of his contract, if he gets his legs back underneath him, if everybody believes he's healthy, I think the locker room is really behind this guy. If Saquon Barkley goes out there and balls out, I think they get it done. I think Micah Parsons just might have too much to do there with the secondary. Stephon Gilmore is there for what it's worth, not for maybe his play, more for his coaching and the discipline across the side of the ball. On the other side of the defense with Trevon Diggs. I got the Cowboys winning a close one.
So I'm trying to go back to their game last year, and their last final game was on Thanksgiving between the Cowboys and the Giants, and the Cowboys walked out with a 28-20 win. In that same game, Dak Prescott threw 2 interceptions. In that same game, we watched the Daniel Jones failed completion to Saquon Barkley on fourth down to extend the drive. I mean, there was a bunch of miscues between both of these teams. Brian Daboll, Mike McCarthy, they're not so much different in their offensive coaching mindsets. They're just above average offensive coordinators who are head coaches. Daniel Jones, Dak Prescott, above average quarterbacks. I mean, Saquon Barkley is a better running back in this matchup. Defensively, Thibodeau versus Parsons, you can go anywhere and everywhere. My point is, I'm taking the Giants. I'm taking the Giants in this one. I think. Actually, no, I apologize. Scratch that one out, Jacob. I'll take the Cowboys. Sorry. I'll take the Cowboys. I think their offense is better. I think CD will be better. I think Dak Prescott will be better. I'm taking the Cowboys. I'm booking that in. Cowboys.
A last-minute switch-up for Martino. Another wrinkle to this contest is Darren Waller. While Darren Waller is on the football field, he's one of the best 5 tight ends in the game. As we actually hit the timer for the first time in the video. But, yeah. That's about all we had to say with maybe another one of those most watched matchups of the week. We know all the major networks will be yapping about the Cowboys on Monday. Bills and the Jets, Martin, the last one of week 1. We've made it through this in pretty good time. I won't even set the timer for this one. In the Big Apple, in NYC, Martin, I'm going to Jets, Jets. They're getting it done over the Buffalo Bills because, I hate to say it, I have a little bit of faith in Aaron Rodgers. I do, Mr. Ayahuasca. Mr. See into the future. He's revamped. Everybody's talking about the vibes with this team. Well, vibes or not, they got one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best defense in all of football. Sauce Gardner will make his impact felt against a disgruntled, and we will never know why, Stephon Diggs. They're going to get it done. The Jets will win a thriller against the Bills, and everybody in New York is going to go crazy after week 1.
So I'm looking at stats here. Aaron Rodgers is 2-2 in his career against the Bills. The last 2 for Aaron Rodgers, he has split a win and a loss. The last loss came last year. He was 19 of 30, threw for 208, threw a touchdown, interception, and got sacked twice. I am going to take the Bills. And simply, I'm going to take the Bills because the last time these two teams matched up, I believe Von Miller wasn't healthy. And if Von Miller is healthy, Von Miller is better than every offensive lineman that the New York Jets have. There is not one New York Jet offensive lineman that has enough strength, has enough backup, has enough double team or triple team power to stop Von Miller. Von Miller will destroy Aaron Rodgers. He will get in that backfield. I promise you that. I'm taking the Bills. They're the better team. DeMar Hamlin, Von Miller will find some way to get that defense together with Mike Milano. That offense, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, they will light up the secondary for the New York Jets. Besides Sauce Gardner, New York's secondary is not that good. I'm taking the Bills week 1, Monday night. Call it, book it.
I'm really hoping for the Jets' sake, Martin, not that I'm a Jets fan, but just for their sake. I hope that they recognize that the path to success this year for them is going to be 3-step drops with Aaron Rodgers. Get the ball in and get it out. You don't have time to waste. When you have the talent you do around, especially Martin, a huge way to reverse the doom of a bad offensive line is to have running backs who are really good at knowing, how long to hold these half blocks and when to then peel out on their little routes to the flat. They have two guys who I think are going to be able to do that really well, a veteran in Dalvin Cook, and for what it's worth, coming back for injury, the Iowa State kid, Breece Hall. They're going to be out there. Those two are going to be a problem. Martin, if they're in a shotgun with two running backs back there, you can blitz them all you want, but there's going to be plenty of holes in the defense if you're going to blitz Aaron Rodgers. The path would be rushing 4 or 5 and having them get through, but I'll tell you what, if you're doing 3-step drops with Aaron Rodgers and he's adjusted to the offense, he's bought in, everybody, has the timing down. Garrett Wilson's ready to become the Justin Jefferson, perhaps, of the Jets. Martin, I think the Jets are going to surprise some people week 1. This team is perhaps the most, from the media perspective, the most bipolar team in the league in the sense that some people have them winning 7 games, finishing last. Other people have them winning 14 games. You never see anything like this going into a season. I'm just glad I'm going to be watching on Monday night.
Well, your last couple sentences there, to me, are actually not true. This is exactly what we think about every single year when we go into an Aaron Rodgers season. Okay, it's the team. Okay, will only succeed when Aaron Rodgers succeeds. When the Green Bay Packers had Aaron Rodgers healthy, they were booked in for 13 wins. When Aaron Rodgers was hurt, you could book him only for 4 or 5 wins because they never had a good backup. This is the same situation. If Aaron Rodgers is good, the Jets win. If Aaron Rodgers sucks, Zach Wilson's going to get revived and be brought back and possibly have another quarterback situation, and Aaron Rodgers is not going to be happy. I guarantee you this will be an up and down roller coaster. I had them above their win margin slightly at like a 10 or 11 wins. They are not going to be that stellar of a team that everyone thinks they are. Aaron Rodgers will have some bumps along the road. Zach Wilson will get his name called in that stadium. Aaron Rodgers will be pissed, and this will turn into a drama very, very soon.
It's been the Coin Flip Podcast. These are our Week 1 picks in the National Football League. We are so happy that September is back. Martino, there's 16 matchups that we broke down. So when we revisit this next week, after Week 1 is complete, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll have it out. We will also have our money line records, which we just predict. Perhaps I go 15-1. Perhaps Martino goes 4-12. Who knows how this will turn out, right?
Ooh, 4-12. Okay. Oh boy, I'm writing that down. Where's my notebook? I'm writing that down. 4-12.
Martin, we faded each other pretty much almost every pick for the second half of the video. So who knows how this is going to go? Our records probably will not look the same.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of picking against each other, and that's the beauty of having different opinions because it makes the podcast a lot more fun than having to choose every single team together and just going both 16-0. Just someone's got to be the winner, someone's got to be the loser.
But at the same time, we are making these picks based off of what we think for the most part.
That's very true. That's very true. We have fun with it, man. I mean, it's all about having fun. It's all about giving our opinions. It's all about trying to make sure that people understand our content and see how we're thinking.
Drop a like, drop a comment if you made it this far. Let us know what you want to see next. But we are planning for this to be a series for all 18 weeks of the NFL. Martin, any last thoughts?
Just have a good time listening to the video. Like Jacob said, comment, share, like, do however you guys have to do to get us, some results and some responses, and let us know what you guys think about our picks.
I'm Jacob. That's Martin. This is the Week 1 NFL prediction moneyline status. Coin Flip Podcast. We'll be back for our Week 2 picks / slight Week 1 reactions next. Have a good night.
Peace.